Hi, my name is Desiree Shaftman, and I'm a grief coach. I use the creative process to help people through grief. I've been doing this for about 11 years now, privately. The reason I got into this was because there was a time in my life when I had a lot of grief and loss as well. It started in high school, and it went through college and a few years after. And during that time, I lost both parents, both sets of grandparents, an uncle, and some friends. And back then I didn't know what to do. It was really difficult for me. And I remember at one point I was watching a documentary about a herd of wild elephants. And as they were doing their travels, they came upon a pile of bones of a deceased herd member. As they approached, they circled the pile of bones and they began to pick them up one by one with their tusks and caress them. And I realized when I looked at it that grief can be approached with reverence and gentleness and love. And so it didn't all have to be all of this pain and suffering. I realized that I could actually get there. It was just a matter of trying to find out how. So what is grief? Grief is a universal inner response to losing something or someone that we cared a lot about, something that impacted our lives. That could be a person, it could be a job, it could be a life change. Sometimes when people get married or a relationship dissolves, we feel a lot of grief. Grief sometimes feels like an onslaught of unpredictable emotions. What happens is that because of its unpredictability, we might be feeling okay one minute, and then the next minute we get hit with something, and it could be triggered by a smell, something that we see that reminds us of our loss. So there are different elements to grief. There's shock. If something happens in an accident, it's going to take your body and your mind a while to catch up with the reality of what happened. And within that, there's also a fog. You're not understanding what's going on or where to go from there. There can also be anger. It's okay to be angry to somebody who you've lost. I remember feeling angry at my mom that she lost her battle with cancer because I wanted her. I needed her. So it was really hard. You could feel vulnerable. Vulnerability is a big one because a lot of times what happens is when we lose people, we lose a part of our identity, and we have to try to figure out what to fill in that space where those people once were, and how we related to them. What do we do with that relationship now? That can be extremely exhausting. I remember feeling like I was two people. There was a person inside of me that was carrying my grief, and there was a person on the outside that had to live within the world as it continued on the way it always did, even though I felt like I wasn't a part of it anymore. When I think about grief, I remember trying to find an analogy of what it felt like, because there's really not a lot of words at times. And oftentimes, and a lot of other people also have had this feeling, you're sitting in a boat and you're on the ocean, and sometimes the water is flat and it's calm and you're okay. And other times a storm will kick up. And I remember feeling like I was down between two waves, and all I could see was the water and the sky way up above, but it would be somewhat unreachable to me. What happens is once you experience that enough times, you realize that eventually that passes. Eventually you'll be back to the calmer waters. One of the misconceptions about grief is that we think that there's a timeline. We think that there's directions, step by step, 1 through 10, you do these things and you'll be okay. Grief doesn't work like that. Grief doesn't have a timeline. It doesn't have steps. And to be honest with you, there is no ending in the way that we think of endings. Grief softens as we grow older. Grief becomes something that we can fold into our lives. Grief is something that, as we move on through it and process it, we find ways to hold on to the legacy of what we lost, while at the same time also living a fulfilling life. So different people grieve differently, which is really important and also can be confusing. So what's good for me, what helps to heal me, may not be what helps to heal you. And the best thing that I can suggest is to find different things and to try different things in order to be able to process grief. So why do we have these difficult emotions? It's because we love deeply and we care deeply. Deep love equals a deep sense of grief when we lose something. Sometimes when that happens, we tend to want to suppress our emotions. We don't want to deal with them. We want to live our lives like we have been, as normal as possible. So this numbness sets in. And what happens with that is we can only suppress it for so long. It might be days, it might be weeks, it might be years. What happens with those emotions is that they grow. Okay, they just lay dormant for a while and then they begin to grow. And eventually they grow big enough so that we have to deal with them one way or another. In order to do that, we need to figure out what kind of support we need and ask for support. We have to reach out for support because a lot of times people feel uncomfortable talking about grief and they don't want to say something that, because they don't want to upset you. They don't want to bring up your loved one because they don't want you to be upset. But in reality, it's the opposite. Talking about your loved one, talking about your loss, sharing who they were to you, keeps that love alive, and it keeps that connection, that relationship alive, which is really important. And you can do that for the rest of your life. I always remembered wondering because I felt so different from the inside to the outside, I wondered if people could really see the weight that I was carrying. And if they could, I wondered if they could actually understand it. So what does it take to heal? Healing takes place when we feel safe. When we feel like we've come to a place where we could look at these difficult emotions honestly and accept that they are now a part of us, but they don't have to continue to be a part of us. We have to realize that being able to release emotions safely is one of the most important things about processing grief, because it allows us to touch the emotions and to go into ourselves and learn how we deal with these emotions. Share our story in therapy and art. Write, create. I say share our story, but so many times our stories don't have words. They have feelings. And how do we express feelings without words? For me, it was art. I was allowed to express myself. I was allowed to find myself through art. So in closing, grief is a universal human experience that we will all have to deal with at one point or another. And I know it's not a comfortable subject to talk about unless you're grieving, but from my own experience, I feel it's necessary that we learn about grief before we are experiencing it, because that gives us a footing. We're going to get thrown off. You're going to get thrown off, and that's okay, as long as you realize that there are ways and people that can help you process safely. And I want to really hone in on that word safety, because emotions are fragile, and you can be fragile when you're grieving, and we need to have that support in order to help us through. Just remember that you're not alone. Even if grief convinces you that you are, you're not alone.